The following program is a production of Naleo TV.
Aloha and welcome to another episode of COVID-19 Talk Story on Naleo TV. I'm Waika Alameda, and it's the 14th day of January in the year 2021. To begin this week's program, I'd like to start by laying context regarding this relentless coronavirus pandemic. On January 30th, 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak of COVID-19 a public health emergency of international concern, almost a year ago. Shortly after, on March 4, 2020, Governor David Ige issued the initial proclamation relating to COVID-19, where he declared a state of emergency. That would set the stage for a cascade of supplementary proclamations to follow. For example, a mask and social distancing mandate, or the one Governor Ige signed on March 23, 2020, requiring all persons in the state to stay home. This lasted from March 25 to April 30. We are quickly approaching an entire year of this pandemic lifestyle, and quite frankly, it is brutal and shattering communities. As of yesterday, thanks to COVID-19, there are over 22.7 million confirmed cases and over 370,000 fatalities in America. Bringing this closer to home here in the state of Hawaii, we have a cumulative of 23,733 confirmed cases and 312 deaths. Omoko Keawe, Hawaii Island, 2,037 confirmed cases, 45 deaths yesterday. These stats aren't just sobering, it's downright frightening. Enough so that I am begging you to do all you can and more to mask up, to physically distance, wash your hands, and stay home as much as you possibly can. And when you think that is enough, it is not. You can always do more to stop the spread of COVID-19. We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk with Esther Kanehailua, Hilo-Waiākea Complex Area Superintendent for the Department of Education, and she'll tell us exactly what it will take as a community for us to reopen our public schools safely. And of course, we catch up with our weekly expert, Peter Schwartz, where he will break down this new rapid variant that is spreading across the globe. All of this and more right here on COVID-19 Talk Story on Naleo TV.
The Hawaii Department of Health is moving forward with implementing a robust, comprehensive vaccination plan to ensure the COVID-19 vaccine is available to Hawaii residents in an efficient, orderly manner. The Department of Health is working in tandem with local, state, and federal government agencies, as well as hospitals and other organizations in the healthcare community to safely and quickly administer the vaccines. If you have any questions regarding the state's rollout plan or the vaccine, call the Department of Health's hotline at 1-808-586-8332. Stopping the spread of COVID-19 is all of our kuleana. Stay safe.
Times are different, but our mission remains the same. While maintaining social distancing and following proper sanitary protocols, Naleo o Hawaii still seeks to facilitate and promote community engagement through media. We're staying safe so we can continue to serve you.
Aloha and welcome back. Thank you for joining me. With us is Esther Kanehailua, the Hilo-Waiākea Complex Area Superintendent. And to really understand the impact that our public school system has on our community is tough to imagine. And the only way we can do that is by bringing on an experienced DOE leader in Esther to explain to us really what is the status of our children's public education learning during this time. So joining me now is Esther Kanehailua, the superintendent for the Hilo-Waiākea Complex Area. Esther, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Waika.
No problem. You know, one of the things that I constantly think about driving throughout our town is really our students and how they're doing during this time. So can you give us an update? What is it like today in the Hilo-Waiākea Complex Area?
I know, I think we're already approaching a year almost, right? I mean, in March, it'll be a year since students haven't been in school. And that weighs heavily on all of us, right? As educators, when our primary responsibility is to our students. And so when we think about our community and the Hilo-Waiākea complex, spanning from Kanehailua K-8 to Waika and elementary, and the 13 schools throughout, we are always in conversation. We had a principals meeting yesterday, and part of our regular agenda item is our return to learn. What does that look like at the elementary schools? What does it look like at a middle school? What does it look like at a high school? And why are we making the decisions we make to bring back the students that we bring back? Because it's very different. What Keukaha does in terms of their community and the students they bring back is because principals are really working with their teachers to say, who are our neediest kids that need to be back in school? We already have a board resolution, a Board of Education resolution that determines who we should have top priority. And that really is our most severe, maybe severely disabled students, other students with disabilities that cannot be served online through distance. But within that population, we still have parents who are electing, I don't want that because I'm thinking about safety, because my kid, the irony, right? They're vulnerable as learners, but medically they may be vulnerable as well. So they don't want to put their child at risk. So how do we continue to we may have some of that class in person and some of those kids at distance, and how do we do that? So it's a constant struggle for schools, and it is at the forefront of every principal's mind in how are we serving our students best, and how do we increase the numbers safely? You know, coming off the heels of a break, that was something that was part of our discussion. And I think as a community, right, you hear the messaging about social gatherings and all of that. And we really have to, it does take a community effort for this to happen, that we say, hey, you guys, for 1 year, we gotta, to take care of our community. It's part of our kuleana. If I care about you, you care about me. We cannot get together the way we normally do, but we will one day. This is just for now, till we get to that point where we can safely return. And we had to think about after the break, before the break, we already had students, in school, but after the break, how do we bring back kids? And bringing those kids back, do we have to think about how much time after the break, thinking about incubation periods, if there were social gatherings or large gatherings, and then what students we bring back? Would it be our lower elementary kids? More. One of the elementary schools in our complex area has started the kindergarten rotation and AB schedule before the break. And it really is a range, because our younger learners have a harder time engaging for long periods of time online. But then the other part is, like, on the other end, you have the high school students who can be on a more synchronous, like, follow my bell schedule. If it's a 2-4-6 day, I'm on 2-4-6. It's kind of a longer day for me, or 1-3-5-7, whatever the rotation is. And I can be on longer, engaging with my instructor in groups or whatever it is. And for the younger ones, we can't be as long because of the attention and what we're asking them. So we have to look at how can we return them more safely, and how do we phase it in and have so many kids, and know, even as a school, that all of our protocols on campus, right? We have the 6 feet distancing, the kids are practicing it. We understand as educators, that's part of our role now. The mask wearing, the hand washing, the social distancing, it's part of our curriculum. It's what we got to do. It's what our parents are doing in the community, and how do we reinforce that and build that within the school. And I think we have to give kids a lot of credit. They can do that. If we teach them and we practice with them, I hope we remove fear. And then we just show them that with mitigation, we can do this right together. So it really varies, because for the high school, the trade-off is, like, if they bring kids more back in person, they run the risk of losing out on the contact daily. Where if we tell kids, hey, now you're going to come 1 every 4 days, 1 every 3 days, the other days you're working independently. Right now, the kids are online with them synchronously daily. So it's that trade-off. How do you work that balance? But recognizing when there's a problem, the expectation of all my principals, and I hear this from them, that families reach out and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. We got to talk story. So how do they do that? I've heard of incidences, even when we've had like a student with disabilities who's having difficulty at home and the mom didn't want them, the school arranged like a little birthday party and just said, hey, we just want to have kids come together. We're going to just have a time that they can get together and just bring some kind of normalcy and connection. And I think where we've learned that from the start till now is that we got to build in that time for like play that would normally happen during the day for kids to have social outlets to connect. So I think that's the other part, is that balance of meeting the social emotional learning of kids, not just the academic. And one, there's kind of a trade-off, and the social emotional learning is much more important at this point, for many of our students.
Esther, it's no wonder you're the superintendent, because you're clearly really good at what you do. You answered, a couple of my follow-up questions that I had for you, which really was, what would it take to have our students return to learn? But clearly you guys have a plan and you're working it. It sounds like a fluid plan. But second, what I took away from what you just said, and I was going to ask you, what can we do as a community, right, to get our students to return to learning safely? But you clearly, answered it. And basically what I heard was a plea from a DOE administrator saying, hey, if our students are ever going to return safely, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take you, me. You may not be a teacher. You may not be, janitorial, custodial, any part of a school. But the fact that you live in this community is enough to say that you play a role in getting our kids back safely. So we need to do those basic things of masking up, social distancing, trying to avoid gathering as much as we can. So thank you, Esther. Really, that's very important to hear it from you. My another question that I have is, during this time, not all parents have the ability to work from home. So a lot of our students are in mama and papa daycare. And, our kupuna are already, arguably one of the most vulnerable when it comes to this pandemic. And now we're seeing them, engaging with our students in trying to learn distance-wise. How has that been going? Tell us.
Right. And I think it varies, for families that have to. I haven't heard much on that end from families directly, but I'm sure my school administrators do. And I hope it's because they're being responsive to hearing what they need, right? Because it is a struggle. I mean, I remember saying, oh gosh, sorry, no. That is
It's the realities of the time that we're in. So carry on.
Hey, we're still running the regular bell schedule, so that's pretty hilarious at Hilo High. But it is when I think about, for those families, we used to say stuff like, oh, I don't know this math. This is like the new math, right? Which really, I don't know if it is, but we would always say that. So imagine, right, for grandparents who really your role is to spoil, right, your mo'opuna or whatever, but no, you got to get them online at this time. You got to log in. So schools did stuff like create tutorials, video tutorials, or have a resource person that, hey, call. As a department, we have a hotline where people can call. We have several. One is telehealth. So any family struggling with, you have a child, you have a concern, we have a free telehealth line, right? They can call. The other part is an IT line. So if you're having connectivity issues or login issues, you can call. But then the schools are available for that, where they have, right? They have somebody on campus who's their IT person that can help with connectivity issues, or the research teacher who has all of those passwords. But how do we give all of that information? Because they're get into Google Classroom. Now, for a grandparent, like, I don't use Google Classroom, right? We had to have all these little tutorials, and we got better at creating video tutorials and resources like, who do I reach out to when that happened? And the other part, and then still, if that's not working, that we have to be sure that we're hearing and talking to parents and grandparents about what more do you need in terms of support. And I think it's that trade-off between, we're talking about vaccinations now, and we're getting super excited because all of the educators are 1B. Wow. So we're working island-wide at how do we coordinate this? How do we get the vaccines? Because a lot of educators, we want them. We want the vaccinations, because the reality for us in Hawaii is that we have multi-generational homes. And our kuleana, when we go home, right, it's not just while parents say, yes, I want my kid in school, but here's my reality. Tutu lives with us. Mm-hmm. So my kid goes to school, I cannot have them be a carrier and come back and bring something into the home, right? I'm going to put somebody else at risk. So I think as we go through having several conversations with principals who are also hearing that, hey, their mom or dad can get vaccinated, or a teacher, my mom or dad can get vaccinated, hearing from Office of Aging, wherever they're hearing from, developmental disabilities, my disabled daughter can get vaccinated. So I think those things, with everything else we're doing, I think that's all the things that we have to put in place as a community. Just an all white, kind of full court press. We got to get this all done so everybody can return safely. And that really is, it can't be about what agency does what. It's just like, hey, wherever it fits, let's make it work. Yep. Because it's about a safe return and getting to that point of herd immunity for us as a community so that we can have kids, because there's no replacement for face-to-face learning. We are finding for some of the high schools where they have some kids that are really flourishing in this, like where they feel like I have the independence, I'm self-directed, and we are having some early grads in that way, where kids are saying, I'm making it to the career. Now I want to start my post-secondary career, And so I think the exciting opportunity that comes is it's making us re-examine how we do school. That, we always think like, we make a few tweaks, but we still are really traditional in the sense when you get further up, right, into secondary. But how could we do school differently? Because our learners are so diverse. I think this is what has put it at the forefront for us, is that we got to adapt to. And there are some things that we learn in this adaptation that we shouldn't abandon, that we might think about might become a regular part of what we do.
I think it's so critical to have you on this week, Esther, and I can't thank you enough. I think our viewers needed to know the impact that we all have in this time of our children learning distance-wise. It's so critical. Kupuna are essentially having to go back to school to help their mo'opunas learn and thrive. So it is critical that this information be shared. I know you're busy. Before I let you go, any final words?
I think, I had Kiki Heroes on with my principals yesterday at a principal meeting. Rebecca Choi shared just the stuff they're doing with Kiki Heroes. And Christian Wong retired from Hawaii Fire Department, and he still continues to work with us on mitigation efforts. So he's got these monitors to just look at, hey, here's a cheap monitor, like just to look at air circulation and air exchange, but really talking about all the things we put in place that are mitigating factors, and then we practice them, right? And that's the only way. And it is going to be our new normal as a community. And I think you see it when we go to the store. It is so unusual to see somebody without a mask, and you see them, run back to the car, grab the mask, put them on. So I think, we're doing our part, and we just got to continue to do that. The social gatherings, it's so tempting, and we're so craving being together. But how do we find alternate means to connect socially with others and model that for our kids, to tell them it's okay? Because no matter what, everybody got to take themselves back to being in high school, and remember what that was like. And so much of the curriculum is that unofficial part, right? What we learn with our peers, that exchanges. How do we create those experiences? And when I hear the stuff that the high schools are doing and the stuff that's at the forefront for them, how do we continue to have these activities? How do we continue to do certain things for kids so they have somewhat of that experience, something? It makes me, I have a lot of hope for where we're going. And just know that every educator wants a return to normal, like everybody else. We all do.
To our viewers, if you are ever curious about the status of our public school system here in the Hilo-Waiākea area complex, be curious no more. Our superintendent is on it. Esther Kanehailua, thank you so much for your time and all the work you're doing in our community. Mahalo, have a safe week.
Aloha.
Thank you. If you're thinking about or feeling like you should get tested for COVID-19, you absolutely should. Thanks to the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency and its trusted partners, here are free opportunities for you to get tested throughout the next 5 days across the island. We'll be right back.
It's really a privilege for us to be able to serve our Hawaii Island community, and we realize that it's our kuleana to do our part to help our community stay safe and healthy.
Come join us as our kuleana partner, because stopping the spread of COVID really is our kuleana.
Come join us.
Come join us.
Come join us.
It is our kuleana to keep everyone safe.
Come join us.
For more information and to take the pledge to become an Our Kuleana partner, visit ourkuleanahawaii.com/partners.
Aloha and welcome back. Joining me now is no stranger to our show. It's our weekly expert, Peter Schwartz, Senior Vice President for Strategic Planning and Chief Futures Officer at Salesforce. Peter, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm great, and great to be with you.
Fantastic.
This week, I'm going to follow up on some things I talked a little bit about last week, namely what we're learning about the vaccine and the virus. Because what we've really learned now is that there's a race on, and it's a race on for your health. And it's a race between the new variant of the virus and our ability to distribute the vaccine. So that's what I'm going to talk a bit about, is those two forces, because they're coming together. And then what does that mean for what you have to do? So with respect to the virus, the thing we've learned is that this thing is really, really infectious, the new version of the virus. And as a result, it's spreading very fast. In fact, it might be what's happening in California. We don't know that for sure. Where we know it's happening is in England and Ireland. And we see the numbers going vertical as the new virus, new version of the virus spreads. Because it's so much more infectious, it spreads much faster. Now, you may have heard that it's a little less deadly. That's true. But because more people are getting infected, more people are being hospitalized and more people are dying. So just the fact that it is less infectious, because it is so much more, because it is less deadly, it is still much more infectious. So people still need to be very concerned. Now, we don't know for sure that it's on the island, but the odds are it is. It's been spreading for a while. It's certainly in the US, we've detected it. And therefore, it's very likely that it may have reached the island. And remember, people who don't have symptoms, what we call asymptomatics, can still carry it, come here, not know that they're sick, and give it to somebody else from a visitor. So, and that's the most likely way, frankly, it's going to get here. So the thing we've learned is that this thing is spreading really, really, really fast. And we need to be concerned about it. On the other hand, also, go ahead, yes.
You just said something that stuck out to me, and we don't know for sure if this variant is on the island, right? The odds are that it may be. And one thing that I think us as viewers or us as residents could do is just, assume that it is, right? Assume that it is. Hunker down. Take more precautions, right? Wear your mask more whenever you, really, I think that's a striking point. Carry on.
And I think that's exactly right. Now, on the other hand, it's all really good news about the vaccine. First of all, we're finding the vaccines are very effective. They really do work. And the vaccines have arrived on the island. In fact, we've already vaccinated most of the healthcare workers. We're now into the people over 75 and essential workers. And over the next few weeks, we'll be able to hit most of the people on the island. So this is really good. Now, most of the people arriving will not yet have been vaccinated. So we still have a big issue. So even as we're vaccinating all of the residents, we're still going to be having lots of visitors coming who will not have been vaccinated. So we have to be careful, because even if you've been vaccinated, you can carry the infection and give it to somebody else. You won't get sick, but you'll pass it along. So you deal with a visitor, you get infected, you pass it on to somebody else who has not been vaccinated. So that's the reality. Now, the truth is the vaccination program on the Big Island is being managed very well. It's going very fast. People can be quite confident in it. So we know it's very safe. There's really almost no side effects. Virtually everyone but pregnant women or people who have high level of allergies can take it. So when you hear the announcements on the radio, in social media, in the newspapers, on Naleo TV, that the vaccine is available for you, go get it. It's safe, and it's really important to everybody else that you get the vaccine. So we're in this race between the spread of the new version of the virus and this really great set of vaccines that we have that are already available on the island. It's a pretty good story. If we can get through the next, call it 6 to 8 weeks, which is where the peak of this new virus is hitting will get better and better and better. We'll still have to keep going for some time because not everybody will have been vaccinated. So exactly what you said, all the measures that we've been taking, wearing masks, washing hands, social distancing, are even more important now with the new variation of the virus and the opportunity that the vaccine is providing us.
To our viewers, if you're going to listen to anyone, listen to Peter Schwartz. He's our weekly expert, and we bring him on for a reason, because of his global experience. He really knows what he is talking about. Two immediate takeaways for me, Peter, and thank you for sharing them. Number one, the variant. It's scary. It's out there. Assume it's on the island. Take extra protective measures. We're doing well. We really are. We got through 2020, but we can do so much more. Do not take it for granted. Not now. And the second, of course, the vaccine rollout plan here on Hawaii Island is proceeding with success, and we have much more to look forward to. Peter, thanks so much for catching up this week. Look forward to talking with you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Now, if you're thinking about or feeling like you should get tested for COVID-19, you absolutely should. Thanks to the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency and its trusted partners, here are free opportunities for you to get tested across the island over the next 5 days. We'll be right back.
As a Kuleana partner, it is important for us to keep our community and employees safe.
Come join us as an Our Kuleana partner, because stopping the spread of COVID really is all of our Kuleana.
Come join us.
Come join us.
Come join us.
Because stopping the spread of COVID really is all of our Kuleana.
Come join us.
For more information and to take the pledge to become an Our Kuleana partner, visit ourkuleanahawaii.com/partners.
Thank you all for being with us for this 16th episode of COVID-19 Talk Story on Naleo TV. Before I let you go, I'd like to share a personal story. This is a somber week for my family and me. We're laying my grandfather to rest tomorrow. We unfortunately lost him on Christmas morning. And as hard as that was, I don't think we were prepared for what was to come next, which was not celebrating the traditions that we are accustomed to when we part with loved ones here in Hawaii. Not being able to hug and love upon our family, the ones we need the most during this very time, has got to be the most challenging element by far. With that, I'm going to close with this. My grandpa was the embodiment of everything we know and cherish here on Hawaii Island. Hard work, humility, perseverance, and compassion. Let's work hard to beat this infectious disease to protect our community's legends like my papa and so many other kupuna. Thank you again for joining me for this week's episode. Remember, there are proven ways for us to beat this disease by wearing our mask, social distancing, washing our hands, and staying home as often as we can. We're going to need to be disciplined and hold each other accountable. I'm Waika Alameda. Until next week, aloha.
The preceding program was a production of Naleo TV.